न च तस्मान् मनुष्येषु कश्चिन्मे प्रियकृत्तमः भविता न च मे तस्मात् अन्यः प्रियतरो भुवि.
And therefore, tasmat, there is none among humans who does dearer service to me, nor will there be another on earth dearer to me than such a one. Than such a one means what he's spoken of earlier, who does everything, dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, and swadhyaya jnana yajna. Now, what is he speaking about? When you want to do service to God, it is not done just by lighting a lamp. It's not done by just a ritual of walking to a temple. It is done through every perception and action of the body, through every emotion and feeling, and through every thought that flits through your intellect. So, why must we do that? He says there are three kinds of rina that you have. Rina, debt that you owe. First is pitra rina, your debt to your ancestors. Every one of us belongs to a family that traces its origins back to a great sage, that is your gotra, right? So you have an obligation to live up to the high standard that your ancestors set for us. Second is devarana, means nature, the environment. You have an obligation not to mess up the environment, not to dirty the environment. And yet each one of us, every day coming in the car to this place, you see educated people in fancy cars lowering the glass and just throwing things out. Simple things like that you can't do. Wastage of water, wastage of valuable resources which you will reach a stage where you, even if you want to pay for it, you can't get it. And the third is Rishirana. Rishirana, the great rishis in this country have laid down this wonderful tradition for us, and every generation has had visionaries, great sages who rekindle our interest in this subject. And so we owe a debt to them, whichever way you look at it. The long and short of it is we have an obligation to live up to a certain high standard of values. And the sooner we realize it, the better. This Rishirana reminds one of Plato's metaphor. Plato gives a metaphor, it's a famous metaphor, where he describes a generation of people living in a dark cave. And this group of people, this civilization, has been living there for generations. Never does it occur to anyone that there could be life outside the cave. But one day, one young man gets up and says, "But surely there must be life outside this cave. Let's go and explore." The elders in the cave, in his generation, discourage him and say, "Oh, no, there's nothing outside. This is all there is in the universe." So he accepts it and goes back to sleep. But after a few days, again this thought nags him that there must be something outside and we must explore. He realizes that no one's with him, so he plucks up enough courage to set out by himself. And he turns a few corners and he gets into a frightening state. Complete darkness, where he has lost the light of the cave and he has not gone to the mouth of the cave. He's in complete total darkness. At this stage, he has only his faith and his conviction to keep him going. He says there has to be something beyond, and he continues. As he walks along, suddenly in the distance, he sees a little diamond sparkling, and that's the mouth of the cave. And when he sees that, he knows, yes, I've been right all along. And now he goes with renewed enthusiasm and vigor. He comes to the mouth of the cave, he comes out into the open, and he sees what you and I see every day. The only difference is he is in a state of exhilaration. He's so excited. Why? Because he sees the sun, the moon, the flowers, the trees, the birds, animals. and he is in ecstasy. He enjoys this for a week. And after a week, he thinks back to all his people back in that dungeon, in the dark cave. And he says, let's go back there and bring them all out. So he goes back. When he goes back, he speaks to them. He says, see, I've discovered a whole new world out there. I see trees, I see flowers, I see birds, I see colors of all kinds. The sun, the moon, stars. The more he talks, the less sense it makes to the people around him. Because they have never seen anything like this. They can't conceive of it. And so they conclude, poor fellow, we always knew there was something wrong with him. And this poor young man is so disheartened. Just then, another youngster comes up to him and says, Chalo yaar, let's go, I'm with you. And now, the journey back into the open is much easier because he's been that way. They come out into the open, and the older one sees this youngster go through exactly the same experience that he went through a week ago. That exhilaration, that bliss, that joy of being out in the open, breathing what Wordsworth calls an ethereal air. And after a week, he waits for a week, and after a week he tells him, okay, now it's your turn to go back there and pull one more person out. And this is the Guru Shishya Parampara that has been going on since time immemorial. And so today we are the recipients of this knowledge. It is for us to carry forward this to the extent we can. How can we do it? Maybe you can't. See, you can give knowledge only when you have it, in the sense that you can give Atman only when you have Atman. So to the extent that you develop, you can do it. But for now, you can only recommend to people, you can give them books, you can give them CDs, you can give knowledge to them, you can encourage them to join maybe in the classes and lectures, whatever it is. If you do that much, you will have done the greatest service. You will have repaid the debt to the great rishis. Next verse.